he got those from The Giver, Dr. Caulder.
It must have been a lot. I know what it takes to paint a room, Gene. You got to go to
do
Home
you?
Depot. Yes, you got to get a couple gallons of paint. He wasn't going to do that arts and crafts on those little like jars of paint.
Yeah, but you don't have gorilla abilities.
Gorillas would have painted with shit and blood. If he did the mural in human feces and body fluids, then yes, he learned a lot from his primate friends.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week we take a look back in time, decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share it with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all our information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you would like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing tonight?
Gene and dear listeners, tonight is a very special value. Normally, when our listeners decide to support us with a commission, you get one film. Tonight, it's a Swiss Army knife. It's a Leatherman. I count 9 movies in one that we're going to get into. If you go research this, it's going to say it is the only a psychological thriller. But I think it's much more. It's a lot of different films wrapped into one. And that's why I'm not going to waste any time, Gene, because Austin was kind enough to write in and commission the 1999 American psychological thriller, Instinct.
And Austin says, Dear Shat the Movies hosts, I am a relative newcomer to your podcast, having discovered it just last summer while working as an environmental consultant and traveling to do field work. Your discussion of old movies, be they good, bad, or so bad they're good, kept me entertained for many long hours on the road. The film retrospectives and the nature of my work got me thinking about a movie I haven't seen in a couple decades, 1999's Instinct. Anthony Hopkins stars as an anthropologist imprisoned for multiple counts of homicide he allegedly committed while on an expedition to study gorillas in Africa. He has been sent back to the United States, where an ambitious young psychiatrist, played by Cuba Gooding Jr., attempts to unravel just what happened in the jungle. In the end, the younger man learns more about himself and the world than he ever expected to. I was about 15 when I saw Instinct, and I loved it. It was a box office bomb and was largely panned by critics, which I attributed to a flawed ad campaign focusing on Anthony Hopkins as crazed murderer, as well as critics' unfair comparisons to other movies like Silence of the Lambs meets Gorillas in the Mist. I thought it was a brilliant look at the folly of modern life and humankind's fractured relationship with the natural environment. But now, I'm not so sure. A quarter century later, will I still find Instinct to be so well made, intelligent, and profound? Or, with 4 decades of life behind me and an anthropology degree of my own, will I realize this movie just isn't as good or as deep as teenage me thought it was? I'm honestly afraid to find out. Please, Shat the Movies team, accompany me on a jungle adventure to find out if Instinct was worthy of my adolescent esteem or if it truly deserved to be a flop. And that comes from Austin Drews in Round Rock, Texas.
I mean, environmental consultant. This movie was made for him.
You'd be surprised. So you might know my cousin Pej. He's an environmental consultant. You know what he drives?
Probably a gas guzzler.
A V8 Lexus. He bought it because it was the last year that Lexus was even putting out a V8 SUV. He flies pretty much everywhere he goes. He does not give two shits about his water usage. He only buys bottled water. The entire fridge is full of bottled water. He thinks that the poor's drink out of cups.
So what you're saying is the environmental consultant, there's a good side, a light and a dark side. You could be like an evil environmental consultant.
I think primarily the ones that are really successful are the ones that are working with larger corporations and some unsavory clients to help them clean up their messes or mitigate the damage. But I'm not saying our friend Austin is that guy. Austin, I think with his anthropology degree, I think he's on the good side of things.
I hope so. I hope he's remained on the good side.
Instinct is a 1999 psychological thriller starring Anthony Hopkins, Cuba Gooding Jr., and Donald Sutherland. The first film produced by Spyglass Entertainment, it was very loosely inspired by Ishmael, a novel about a telepathic gorilla who teaches the narrator about the destructive nature of what Ishmael calls taker cultures, which prioritize human dominance and expansion. In 2000, the film was nominated for and won a Genesis Award in the category of feature film. As Austin said, this movie received mixed reviews. Rotten Tomatoes gave the film a critic score of 26% based on reviews from 65 critics. And Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 1.5 stars out of 4. It underperformed at the box office, grossing only $34 million in the US and Canada. And on the day of the premiere for this film in Orlando, Florida, Cuba Gooding Jr. added his handprints to a star outside the Chinese Theater at MGM Studios, a park at Walt Disney World, with a Walk of Fame that is a replica of the famous Walk of Fame in Hollywood, California.
Gene, I had to add that fact because I was actually at Disney working as a college program intern when Cuba Gooding was there. And little did I know this many years later, I would be hearkening back to that day and what an impact it would have on my life.
As an actor, how is somebody not offended by this gesture? Oh, sorry, you're not on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You're on this replica Walk of Fame in Florida.
Well, we used to do some big premieres there. I think we did Armageddon the year before. Mm-hmm. So they were trying to build its own reputation. But again, this is Cuba Gooding Jr. before the Academy Award, I believe. So he wasn't the big star. Yeah, I mean, you didn't get Anthony Hopkins doing this. You wouldn't do that to Sir Anthony Hopkins.
You probably wouldn't be able to get back up.
Oh, no, he was spry. He's a spry older man in this film. We've seen him wreak havoc. He could have done his handprint.
Well, Big D, we always ask the question where you were when you first saw a film and what your memories are of it. We'll start with you this week. What do you remember about Instinct?
So I did not see this in the theaters. I confused it with another general plot, and it's possibly because the ad campaign was selling you one movie, then the Academy bait was trying to sell you another angle. I was expecting that Instinct was another movie with a similar story. We had Ed Norton. He was playing, I think it was a developmentally challenged young man who was charged with murder. He killed an archbishop. And the movie follows the case and Stamper's lawyer, played by Richard Gere, and he can't tell whether or not his client is innocent or guilty. And in the end, the movie reveals this shocking truth, Gene. You're not going to believe it. Stamper, he is the killer, and the innocence and his special needs was a facade. But that is not primal fear. That is not the case here, where we're going to get an environmentalist who's going to turn out intentionally killing. Though the movie is a hybrid of sorts, and I'll get into it. It's felt more like Shawshank Guerrilla or Psychiatric Poet Society was the ones I was thinking the combinations of.
Well, Austin, you really outdid yourself on this one. I'm pretty used to listeners bringing up movies from the 1980s that I've never seen or heard of because I was younger than 10 years old. So a lot of those kind of flew under the radar for me. But when it comes to the 1990s, generally, I've heard of movies, but often not seen them. I was 19 years old when Instinct hit theaters. So I had my own car. I had my own income. I had my own access to movie listings. I do not remember this movie even coming out. I don't recall it ever being released. I don't recall anybody in college talking about it. So I think not only was it a flop, but it was a flop that nobody even mentioned.
No, but it was a summer. And if you see the poster, it is a blurry Anthony Hopkins where the only thing you can see is his blue eye and the word instinct. It tells you nothing about it. It wouldn't draw Gene Lyons to come out of his summer fun to watch this film.
You know me and my summer fun.
Yes, I know about that water park you had in Arizona, Gene. You were probably at the water park, or you were doing some gothic things.
Dude, you just cracked the case. I wasn't even in the United States when this movie came out. I was studying abroad. That's why I never saw Instinct, Austin. That's why.
Yes, that makes complete. See, we've cracked the case.
Let's hit the trailer.
Noted anthropologist Ethan Powell was reported missing in October 1994. Lost for nearly 2 years. They said he walked among them, part of the animal group. He killed 2 Rwandan park rangers with a wooden club.
He lives with the animals. Takes on their behavior. Becomes one. How does that happen?
These sessions can be your opportunity. Your father may be very ill.
Really? I thought maybe he was just in a bad mood.
Powell is a dangerous psychotic.
What are you up to? Therapy?
Are you a murderer?
Oh, yes.
Why does this all end in murder?
There were many murders.
He was teaching me.
It's like a pretty tough class.
Congratulations.
She still wants her father. What do you say to her?
Goodbye. Never had control. You only thought you had it. You're no mystery to me, boy. I used to be you. I don't believe I can come back to this world the way I am.
What's it all worth? What's it all worth, Ethan, if you don't come back? Are you afraid to go back there?
You afraid to follow?
Try me.
Dr. Ethan Powell, a renowned anthropologist, disappears while studying gorillas in the jungles of Rwanda. When he is discovered years later, he has become a wild, silent figure living among the gorillas and presumed to have killed several park rangers. Powell is captured and brought back to the United States, where he is held in a high-security psychiatric facility for evaluation and trial.
So the movie starts, and unfortunately, I've got our Shat on TV. My antennas are up, and I'm looking for some plot twist. I'm looking that we're going to see in the beginning, they're going to establish the characters, and at the end, we're going to get a complete inversion, and we're going to find out, similar to the movie I mentioned earlier. And it opens up, and we get Sir Anthony Hopkins. He's in prison, long hair, wild eyes, lots of wild eyes in this movie. He looks like he's been living in the woods in prison for a decade. And he is a dangerous man, Gene. That the guards just like throw the handcuffs into the cell. They make him handcuff himself. You only do this shit if you're a dangerous prisoner. He is. So then they're going to put him in a truck with 2 snarling Dobermans. And the guards are laughing like, ha ha, this old man is in trouble. But of course, the second they lock the door and they're chuckling, I know that when it opens up, it is Dr. Dolittle and it's Jim Carrey, ace pet detective, and the 2 Dobermans are curled up on his lap and he's petting them. It's painfully obvious to me that they're setting this up, that Hopkins is going to be some misunderstood environmentalist consultant or jungle whisperer. And this could not have been a surprise to anyone, Gene, when they opened the door, was it?
Yeah, I thought the dogs were going to be dead.
Oh, you did? I didn't even think of that option.
I did, because I thought he was going to like go ape on them.
Oh, okay.
Threatened by the animals. So I was relieved when they were happily just kind of chilling. Friends, you'll have to excuse my co-host here for underselling the dogs in this movie. The Rwandan authorities have a set of absolutely gorgeous Doberman pinschers, but they put them inside the prisoner transport on tethers. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure what these dogs are meant to do, because if I were in a truck and then they had Dobermans in there with me, it would make me more likely to try to escape the truck. But whatever. I want to get back to that phrase you used, misunderstood jungle whisperer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think after seeing this whole movie, that's the theme of the movie?
No.
Is that Dr. Powell was a misunderstood jungle whisperer?
No, but in the beginning, I'm expecting that there is some megalomaniac hiding in plain sight. So in the beginning, I'm saying they're throwing me like signals both ways. He could be violent. He could be insane. He could be wild, or he could be this kind man who befriends two Rottweilers. Or Dobermans, whatever the fuck they were.
Dalmatians, who knows?
Dalmatians. Those two pretty puppies.
They really were.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what it was going to be. I didn't know. I mean, you got Hopkins, and we're supposed to be afraid of him. Yes, he's Hannibal Lecter, but Instinct comes out in 99, and at this point, he does not look like that wild, young, spry Hannibal Lecter. He looks more like angry grandpa than Predator in a cage. So when they try to crank up the tension, when he's freaking out, when they get him into the hospital and there's these like the alarms are going off and the keys are jingling and Powell goes full Tarzan, I'm sensing that either this is an act or he's being triggered. And then they add this sound, Gene, to amplify it. We've got Hopkins. He's breathing heavy. The camera's focusing on his eyes. Then they do a growling gorilla sound effect that's audible underneath the dialogue. Like I'm watching him transform into Donkey Kong. It's so on the nose. I'm like, this can't be intended to somehow show us that he's bottled up all of this rage. It looks like this is putting on some form of an act. And I don't know what they're trying to do. Were they trying to just make us afraid of this older, more frail Anthony Hopkins?
This entire scene that you've described, it is full of blatant misdirects. And I'm fine with a movie giving some mysteries to solve. I'm fine with a movie giving us hints, maybe even a couple of things that could be ambiguous or misinterpreted, right? But when you're giving me information that is solely meant to throw me off the scent and to confuse me, that doesn't add up, I get personally offended as a viewer. Dr. Powell, he has this violent episode at the airport, and it begins with him being overwhelmed by repetitive noises. So you see one guy is like tapping on the door. Mm-hmm. There's an alarm that's just going off. They can't get it shut off. The agent's voice is on the radio. So it gives you the impression, okay, we know that sounds, repetition, and electronics are upsetting Dr. Powell. So I'm thinking, okay, he's either been conditioned as an animal, like he has become the ape, and so he can no longer handle this cacophony of modern life, or that whatever happened to him in that Rwandan prison, somehow he was abused so badly that he has lost his mind. Okay, so we've already established it's got to be one of those things. Otherwise, there's no reason to show us this scene. Or maybe there's a third explanation that we haven't thought of. That third explanation never comes. We don't know. Then you get him exhibiting superhuman strength and aggression. He is taking guards. He is cuffed and shackled, and he is taking guards, throwing them against walls. He's running through the airport. He's slamming into people. It takes like 8 people to hold him down. And finally, perhaps most misleading, for some reason, they made Anthony Hopkins look chonky and short. Like he looks like my grandma. He looks like E.T. when they dressed him up like a lady. Anthony Hopkins is not a chubby guy, and he's 5'9". So it's like he's shorter than you or me, Big D, but that's not short, especially by Hollywood standards. Anyway, all I could think of was our Westworld listeners, right? Like if we had people watching this and writing in their theories of what's going on, everyone would have been pissed off with these false leads.
Yeah, I thought it was some kind of traumatic like conditioning. I thought and for it to be none of those, Gene, and then you mix in the other weird behavior he's been exhibiting for all these years. We're going to get into it. This movie is starting off, and I can see people would be confused. We're trying to dissect his condition, and that's not even the most focused on part of the film.
Psychiatry student Dr. Theo Caulder, eager to make a name for himself, is assigned to assess Powell's mental state and determine if he is fit to stand trial. Powell initially refuses to speak, frustrating Caulder and the prison staff. Despite pressure from his superiors, Caulder persists, gradually earning Powell's trust and beginning to uncover the story behind his transformation.
So now we're going to go deeper into the doctor's issues and his act. And I'm thinking that he is covering up some deep, dark secret, something bigger than just the murder of these 3 guards or these 3, what are they, poachers?
Park rangers.
These park rangers, because he hasn't spoken in years. They don't explain why. I'm starting to think, okay, this is some form of an act. He's trying to maybe act crazy in order to get out of the Rwandan jail, get back to the United States. He's acting like a gorilla, like a caged animal. And I'm thinking, why not just sell this thing? Go completely unhinged. Don't do just quiet growling and prowling around. Go full ape. Grunt, pace, around, throw your shit. Instead, he just sulks silently, looks up threatening at moments, and we're supposed to believe this is like profound. You see on the poster, it's his eyes, Gene. He looks at you, and you can tell he's got the animal instinct. It needed to be more brooding, make it really sell the case that you're a crazy fuck because you're showing us every other symptom. Make us really believe it if you want to get out of jail.
I don't think he was faking madness in this film. I think it was misinterpreted by the people around him, because my belief is the point of this film was everyone who wanted to talk to him was a taker. And as long as, because that's what this movie's about, right? The takers. And he wasn't about to give a taker shit. But then Dr. Caulder comes along and he approaches as a giver. And that's what makes the difference. Yes, he's trying to build his career and all that, but he gives him the paper. He gives him a pencil. He gives him an ear. He wants to hear what he has to say. And I think that again, I'm not saying this was well done. I'm saying this is what they were trying to do, is establish that Powell sees Caulder. He knows that he's now found his vessel, the person that he can share his teachings through, his understanding, and like a potential student. And that's why he chooses to talk to him. He just wasn't interested in talking to anyone else because everyone else was a taker.
But it doesn't make sense because he obviously loves his daughter, because the only thing he took with him was a picture of her. She's not a taker, but yet he is silent to her. Then you get his boss, Dr. Ben Hillard, who makes it seem like if you can crack this case, you'll make your career. I'm thinking half the movie is going to be him trying to play some games, trying to befriend him, try to use the negotiation techniques. He cracks it in the first 20 minutes. The man's been silent for years. His daughter wouldn't say anything, but he comes in there with a pen and pencil and he cracks him in 15 minutes. It doesn't make sense.
He's special.
He is special.
But for all its flaws, Instinct deserves a little bit of praise. Austin, I think, called it out. It is a thought-provoking piece of dialogue. There are some exchanges in this film that are pretty good. And it got me thinking, and that's always a good thing, right? Movies, a lot of times I don't think we put enough value in how much they get us thinking. Some of them, like The Matrix, try to get us thinking and just end up seeming up their own asses. Instinct got me thinking about humans and our gross habit of viewing the world through a specific prism. And after I watched it, I will admit, I was hanging out with my dogs and going, wow, I really should think about how animals are perceiving all of this, right? Why does a cat scratch up furniture? Why does a dog have to bark in the backyard? Why are rabbits, attacking people's gardens? Those are the questions that humans ask, right? What the fuck is this rabbit doing here? Instead, we don't ask, why do I care about scratched furniture? That's a weird fucking obsession for humans, right? Like a cat scratches the furniture. Does it still work? Can you still sit on it? Who the fuck said furniture shouldn't be scratched up? Or for a dog, how does it feel to not know what's over a wall and be told to ignore it? You see this all the time with people. They've got a dog. The dog is acting up and the person's like, look at me. Pay attention to me. Hey, over here. Look at me. Don't pay attention to that thing. That is the worst thing you could do to an animal that is intensely curious about what's over there, is telling it, don't look over there. Do not pay attention to that. That's going to raise their anxiety. Or, the rabbit is probably like, how the hell did Dick Ebert just make vegetables grow specifically right there? Mm-hmm. That's what the rabbit's thinking about. Not, is it ethical for me to be here and eating this guy's vegetables? Dr. Powell really drives this sort of thinking home with his ape stories. I liked it.
Okay. I think you've done more thinking than the writers of this film. You got to your crazy fucking rabbit hole on your own, and that's great. Okay, the movie got you thinking, Gene. But there's so many times where they try to be thought-provoking, and it's all just babbling bullshit. There's a point where I'm going to stop calling them Dr. Powell and Dr. Caulder. I'm just going to say Anthony Hopkins, he pulls off the tape from the chair and he's like, oh, look, tape. Because he's very talkative now after not talking for like 10 years. Oh, look, tape. He puts it on the table. What?
They got rid of the fucking drugs he was on so he could actually think.
Okay, but I'm going to get to the point here. So Anthony Hopkins takes the tape off and he then suddenly jumps Cuba Gooding Jr. And he's got him in with the pencil and the tape on his mouth. And he says, what have I taken from you? And I think the first guess that Cuba Gooding Jr. says is control. And he says, no, you're wrong. He says, you have one more attempt or I'm going to kill you. In my head, I'm like, fuck, what do I say? What would I say in this point? And I'm thinking, okay, he's got tape on his mouth. You took my voice. That was my guess. What was your guess, Gene?
I was going to say we should say it on 3. Now we can't do it anymore. Yeah, voice.
Okay, great. That would have gotten us both killed, Gene. It was illusion. How the fuck would we have gotten illusion? And thank goodness Cuba knows which one it was. He survives. And this moment profoundly starts to change him, Gene. Whereas your rabbit conversation was more thought-provoking and more conceptual into getting yourself into the head of your animals. You should have been a consultant for this film. Much better.
And instead, I was busy spending all my food money on alcohol in Scotland.
What, Gene? What does a potato, Gene? Does it value becoming food and sustenance, or does it mind becoming vodka and distilled for your pleasure? What does the potato think, Gene?
Vodka's disgusting.
You don't know? You don't know what a potato thinks? Maybe it just doesn't want to be spoiled. It wants to be useful and utilized.
Through intense sessions, Powell begins to open up, revealing his disillusionment with humanity and his deep emotional bond with the gorilla family he lived among. He recounts how he came to see the animals as more moral and authentic than people, and how the violent incident that led to his capture was provoked by humans threatening his gorilla family. Caulder becomes increasingly sympathetic, questioning his own assumptions about civilization, freedom, and sanity.
So, Gene, whether or not the plot is a mess, whether or not the philosophical, thought-provoking questions lead you to a self-realization or some kind of discovery, the one thing the movie does, and I think in the overall picture or the overall story of the film, you needed to achieve, these apes in the flashbacks, they look good. They look surprisingly good. And Stan Winston's crew did them. They are physical. They are expressive. They hold up in a way that I was questioning. Is there a glass panel between the actors and the apes? It looks real. It's fantastic. And this is around the same time that Congo came out and you had Amy, bad gorilla. Amy, drink rainwater. Amy, that stupid Congo ape looked like a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic. Here, this looks really good. And because of that, I think the movie starts to ground you into his experience. And I couldn't believe it. Not one moment did I stop and think, this is an animatronic. This is an actor in a suit. They sold the illusion really well.
Other than the baby gorilla, which clearly was not a baby gorilla, I thought those were all real apes. And I was wondering, kind of like you with the glass panel, I'm like, how did they get Anthony Hopkins so close to actual apes? And then I was like, maybe I overestimated how aggressive apes can be. Maybe they're pretty chill. Turns out, listeners, not chill.
No.
Do not go sit amongst the apes. It will not end well for you. And the one that we get to see the most of is this female ape that's hanging out with Dr. Powell. Did you get the impression she was supposed to be attractive? Did they make her kind of pretty for an ape?
Yes.
Okay, you saw it too.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, she had some hot ape vibes. And so I started thinking that they were trying to imply a sort of romance between Dr. Powell and the ape. And then I was like, fuck, is Dr. Caulder going to ask about it? Because that would make it a very interesting movie, as if we got to find out what happened there.
Well, I mean, she was a sexy primate. There's no question about that. But if you think about the way that we humanize animals and sexualize them, if you even watch The Lion King, whatever Simba's girlfriend is,
Nala?
They make Nala with the eyes and they make them look attractive here. It's part of like humanizing the characters. But yeah, sexy primate without a doubt. But the question you should be asking, Gene, because they hint at him being assimilated into the tribe, they welcomed him in. And, the alpha male, the silverback, kind of, he takes him under his wing. Would the doctor, Gene, I want to pose this, would the doctor have copulated with the ape if he was presented the opportunity to truly become a member of the tribe?
Like if the silverback was like, yeah, go ahead, take a crack at it.
Yes, if she came over
permission.
Because they were playing like with each other's hands, right?
Yeah.
What if she tried to mount the professor? Would he have stopped it?
But what I'm saying is like the silverback in the pack is like, yeah, it's cool with me.
Yes,
like,
he's encouraging.
He would risk it. I don't think he would risk it if he didn't have permission. I think like gorillas, I think they can like lift like 2,000 pounds or some shit like that, like a ton. So I don't think he's doing it without permission. But I think with permission, oh yeah, he's one of them.
Fuck,
totally. Yeah,
that's a movie I want to see.
I don't. What?
Why not? It would explain his unnatural, desire to protect his family. It would make sense.
Because he fucked her?
Yes. That's his
no, she fucked him.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You don't fucking ape. No, you get fucked by a gorilla. Male or female, they do the fucking.
Can you tell me what the fuck that other romance was about? So there's lots of romance going on in this movie that never quite pans out. Dr. Caulder goes and visits Dr. Powell's daughter, Lynn. Okay. And they keep teasing us with it. Like they're spending a lot of time looking at each other's eyes. They're standing very close to each other at windows, in the kitchen. And she's like, yeah, let's go somewhere. Let's go get a drink somewhere. Separate cars, not a date. Or she says like, sometimes you just need to hold on to someone for a minute.
Yes.
Or maybe you don't,
Yeah.
Do you have enough time? And he says, well, I don't have time for people. Well, do you have enough time for one person? like, don't get me wrong. I didn't want this to pan out. I did not want a romance between Dr. Caulder and Lynn. Okay. But why even open that door? Like, who was this for? What audience was watching for this aspect of the movie to say, well, this made Instinct much better? That was my favorite part of the movie, was the weird tension.
Okay, so I'm going to try to get into the mindset of the producers here, okay?
All right.
There's a lot of allegories in here. And I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to maybe show that Cuba Gooding Jr. is too focused on his career. Everything he does is to make that connection, get the book, get discovered, become famous. He doesn't have time for personal connections, Genes. He's one of the takers. He's the idiot. He would never consider love. But then I started to think with my Westworld hat that for some reason she was involved in the killing. That whether or not that the park rangers had assaulted her, then dad came in protected, because she's around and she doesn't serve any purpose. And I was like, there's got to be something going on here, that she's covering up for dad. And then she was coming on to Caulder, and they would have, he'd use his techniques to help her become free and unlock this hidden dark moment in her life. None of that happens.
You're right, because they do establish that she went out and saw him in Rwanda, and she was a photographer, but then she didn't go back anymore. And he keeps saying, don't bring her into this, whatever. Yeah, that makes for an interesting movie.
Yes. Thank you. I'm not crazy.
Also, time or no time, Dr. Caulder's getting laid left and right. He's a good-looking dude. He's young. He's fit, and he's a psychologist. Like he can therapy his way into people's pants.
Yes.
That guy's he drives a Beamer. Come on.
Yeah, he weaponizes his skills.
Oh yeah.
The way he manipulated that one client or that woman, is this a picture of the Pope? Maybe the Pope. He definitely uses that with like bar tricks.
That's why they have to watch him through the two-way mirror.
Of course.
He's out of control.
You want to take your pants off, don't you? No, I don't. Yes, you want to take your pants off.
You never ask me. As the relationship deepens, Caulder undergoes his own transformation. He starts to confront the institutional cruelty around him, especially the dehumanizing treatment of patients in the facility. Powell, meanwhile, continues to challenge Caulder to reconsider what it means to be truly free and to live without the constraints imposed by society.
So we've talked before about films that are Oscar bait, that come out at the specific time of the year for consideration. They've got these big actors, these concepts of very philosophical, and they're going to be profound, that everybody's going to come out and see it and be changed. And then it's going to be, the big night, they're going to win the Oscars. I'm fine. Try your best. But there's moments that they are visually trying so hard that I could see nothing else. We have to talk about the director and the director of photography. Every time Dr. Powell says something profound, the room gets dark and the light focuses on his eyes. And he looks at us like the movie poster. Every shot, it's bathed in shadows, or there's this dramatic reveal of him looking up and just his eyeball. It zooms in tight on his brow. It looks like a sunglass commercial. And I'm starting to feel like, okay, listen, ooh, what is the beast watching? Look at his instinct. But honestly, in the end, it became funny. Every time they would do it, it was just kind of like, what comedian is it that just like the camera, or like a dramatic gopher? Isn't that dramatic gopher, Gene?
With the monocle?
There's a gopher and he's looking the other way, and all of a sudden he goes, "Doo-doo-doo," and he looks at you. Uh-huh. That's what fucking Anthony Hopkins does, and the director does every single time. You could hear the director being like, "Sir Anthony Hopkins, hold it, one more. Get your brow to furl down. Oh, make your eyes sparkle." This is too fucking artsy. They didn't need it.
Disagree. It worked for me.
No.
That is Sir Anthony Hopkins, my friend. It's not as bad as you're describing it. It really isn't.
It's pretty
really,
bad.
really isn't. Also, he has a beard and long hair. So there's not a lot to look at. He's like a little English ninja in there, right? Just the eyes. That's all you can focus on. But now that you mentioned, I also noticed they gave Cuba Gooding Jr. a lot of eye time too. A lot of close-up of his eyes and his mouth. I liked it. It works for me.
Yeah, it's because the eyes, Gene, they're the window to the soul.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to see what's truly behind these men's eyes.
And like you said, look at my instinct.
Feel my instinct.
Feel my instinct.
Feel me. So, Gene, the movie goes far beyond the camera and the light in the eyes. The movie now wants to transform again to something very, very different. And it's not about animal rights. It's not about possible torture of a prisoner. We get a moment here where Cuba Gooding Jr., he wants to interview Anthony Hopkins, but they trick him into working with all of the inmates in this facility. And he stands up and he gives this emotional monologue telling all the inmates who have been abused and they're not treated very well, stand up for yourselves, get your power back. And somehow, magically, all of these prisoners who previously, a few minutes earlier, were mute, twitching, full catatonic, some were banging their heads into the wall, they immediately all wake up and organize into a protest group. The guy who was rocking in the corner is now chanting and throwing up his fists in the air. It looks like Dead Poet Society in a mental ward / prison. And all on cue, we get Danny Elfman, who must have been confused by what the plot of this film was, because he comes in with an inspirational score that's swelling. There's violins, there's dramatic music, it's a crescendo, and all the inmates take out and rip up their cards and throw them up into the air. And at one moment in this scene, it's supposed to be powerful, inspirational. They're taking charge, they're breaking free. But instead, it felt like a fucking joke. It felt like a comedic moment. There's no way that you saw this where all of a sudden these damaged people were not only healed for the magical moment, but they all came together with an understanding of the profound nature of their protest. And in unison, we're going to make a change. You had to have felt something was wrong with this.
I think they were going for an I Am Spartacus moment. They ended up with a really bad 80s slow clap. And Big D, if you're asking whether I stood up in the living room and started shouting, "Everyone goes outside."
Yes.
No, I did not. I think one area where the film failed was in the inconsistency of what this prison even is. They neutered the prison guards with no explanation. Sometimes this head guard, Dax, he'd be sadistic and controlling and intentionally cause fights. And other times he would just do what he was told and become passive and compliant. It seemed like the movie just did with the prison whatever it felt was convenient for the dramatization of these scenes. But
Agreed.
I did have a fuck yes moment while we were in this facility. And I will freely admit the movie manipulated me. It did a cheesy thing that worked. Dr. Caulder, he is this buttoned up, career-focused guy. And what do we all want to see? We want to see him break out of that shell, stick it to the man. And he gets fed up with the prison and its head doctor, Dr. Murray, and Cuba Gooding Jr. with that boyish face and that little mustache. He calls Dr. Murray a tired piece of shit, but then adds, if I'm wrong, I apologize. And I cheered. And I imagined an entire theater in 1999 cheering with me. I might be biased here. I think it tapped into my sense of frustration with professionalism in the workplace in my current life. But I don't know. You didn't feel anything with that when he told off Dr. Murray?
Yes, for a moment, but then I thought about the context. Yes, fuck. I was like, ooh, that's a sick burn. Yeah, I thought, yeah. But then I thought about it. And what did Dr. Murray say? Dr. Murray said, you don't understand the limitations we have here. You don't understand the system that we're trying to work under. Maybe he is just burned out by the system. And then you get this stuck-up Cuba Gooding Jr. bitching and moaning and trying to lecture to him, where they tried to put him in and say, hey, come help us. We're overworked. We're understaffed. Can you treat some of the prisoners? Does he want to help? And use his doctor skills to have a breakthrough? No, he doesn't want to help these people, so he's a fucking hypocrite.
Yeah, he looks at one dude who just pissed his pants, and he's like, I'm not working with that guy. He's got pee pants.
No. Hell no. Again, he's selfish, career-oriented, and I think he might be the bad guy. I think, Dr. Murray, he seems to come around at the end.
You know what, though? The guys working at this facility, they spend a lot of time sitting around for dudes that are overworked. They're like in the break room. They're watching baseball. They're just hanging out a lot, just standing on railings. I don't know. I think it might be a cop-out. In the end, Caulder helps secure Powell's release from the institution, not by legal means, but by showing that Powell no longer poses a threat and deserves to be free. Caulder also chooses to leave the psychiatric field, inspired by Powell's teachings, to pursue a more authentic and compassionate life. The film closes on a hopeful note, emphasizing themes of liberation, self-discovery, and the fragile boundary between civilization and nature.
So now we're getting towards the end of the film, and Cuba Gooding Jr. thinks he's got it solved. He thinks he knows a way that he's going to be able to free Anthony Hopkins, and he keeps repeating this line like it is a credible legal defense. He says, he was only defending his family. He never says he killed these people in defense. They were threatening him. There's no defense that they were. He wasn't defending his family of apes.
Yeah. He also leaves out he was only defending his family of gorillas.
Yes. And they want this to play out like it's a courtroom drama, right? Like it's going to be this big reveal. But this is like Avatar. In Avatar, with a Na'vi. They're trying to protect their tree. That works because it's a science fiction film here. If three animal, whatever they call those people, the dog catchers come in and they're roughing up your kind pooches. They're roughing up your Dobermans, and you come out and beat them to death with a bat. Yeah, they were wrong, but that's not the defense. My family, they're my family. They're dogs. It's not the same thing. You murdered three people. Yes, were they poachers? Were they scum? Yes, probably. But the law doesn't give you the green light to pull out your stick and beat them to death because you say they're your family. You can't have my cats. I can't have somebody come into our house and maybe kick my bunny. And then I brutalize them. I stab them with a butcher knife. And I say, well, I was defending my rabbit. He's like my son. That doesn't work. This doesn't imply that this is something that you're going to have this big aha moment, and all of a sudden they're going to be like, case dismissed, gavel down, and we see the doctor walk out.
What's funny is Dr. Powell at no point ever asked to be released or defended. He has spent 2 years of his life living alongside gorillas in the wild, and the most important thing Dr. Caulder can do for him is what he should be doing. Analyze his notions from a psychologist's professional point of view, because you can check the anthropologist's ideas about freedom and the illusion thereof, and how these gorillas have a more just society, more authentic society. Like, is that the thoughts of a crazy person, or is it actually sound logic? And from a legal perspective, what Caulder should be doing here is a psychological evaluation. What's the point of that, right? It's to determine whether you are competent to stand trial. Powell clearly is. I'm not a professional. I could tell you, he's not crazy. Like, he is competent to stand trial. He does not belong in that facility. And then the other one is whether mental illness influenced your actions in committing a crime. So that's the question, right? Was he batshit crazy when he killed the park rangers, or was he not? That's your only job here. You can be his friend. You can feel for him. You can hang out with his daughter, but do your fucking job, which is, was he crazy when he killed those guys? Pretty easy.
And then the next step, he's been eager to write a book. Why not tell the doctor's story? Try to protect the apes. Try to protect nature. Try to get people to think about the taker culture. He could make a profound change later, but right now he's turning into like Matlock or some kind of, it's going to be a court drama where he's going to like solve the case. That's not what he is supposed to do. And it's just the movie, again, wanting to be multiple things, everything to every person.
Not to be too cynical, I do want to talk about the killing of the gorillas.
Mm-hmm.
It made me kind of angry. I was mad at the Rwandans. I don't know if I'm silly here. I was going to get your opinion on this, like how mad you were at the Rwandans for killing all them apes.
The way it's portrayed, the murders don't make much sense. I don't know what their intent was. Why did they kill the apes?
This is the crazy part. I think what we're supposed to see here, like I've heard people say in this movie that they're poachers coming after the apes. After watching the movie, I didn't see it that way. I think they thought this guy's missing. They're out looking for him.
Yeah.
They see him and there's a bunch of fucking apes around him. And they're like, oh shit, we got to kill these apes before they kill this guy. Because it's reasonable to think that like 5 apes are probably going to kill this white dude who's just hanging out in the middle of the jungle, this anthropologist. Yes. And you're probably going to have a lot of shit on your hands as a Rwandan government if an American scientist dies in your park.
Yeah, if you're going to poach animals, you don't shoot them in the face multiple times. That's not what you do. And then it's even worse, Gene, and makes more sense to your theory, is that they found the apes because of the doctor's, his personal effects. That's how they located him.
Yeah, if he's got half a brain, what he does is the gun starts firing and he goes, whoa, 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 I'm okay. I'm over here. Please don't shoot.
Yes.
Don't shoot at the apes. They're not hurting me.
I'm the wealthy American doctor who's been living out here. I'm famous. Don't shoot them. Don't shoot them. Instead of yanking off a tree trunk and beating these dudes in the head.
And of course, they decided to combo this like shooting with the exact moment that we have the miracle of this man holding a baby gorilla in the wild, and then mom gets shot, right? Again, emotionally, the scene worked for me. I was pretty fucking furious. I understood why Dr. Powell would straight up murder some people. Kind of didn't get why he didn't use a rifle, but whatever. Putting myself in this position, especially when they had the boot on his head and he's got to look the silverback in the eye while he's dying. I'm like, yeah, I wanted to kill these fucking dudes. And at least they got me there.
I totally agree. I understand the anger, but the scream he lets out, Gene, I chuckled. Now, I have a bad recording of it here, and I'll try to put a good one in for the recording, but this is the moment where the silverback decides to charge and protect the new member of the community. And this is the scream. Oh, come on.
He's grieving.
Oh, he's grieving.
Have you ever, and I mean this as an earnest question, have you ever been restrained?
Yes, but he should be saying, you motherfuckers, why the fuck did you do that? He should be screaming instead of this maniacal
He's been
cackle.
with apes for 2 years. He hasn't talked to anybody.
Jesus, no. I'm just glad that, no. No. Gene, it gets even worse. So now we get to the end, and instinct has got to come to some wrap up, some kind of conclusion, and it's sprinting. It's trying to get to the finish line. There's no clear path. There's no finish line that makes sense and has all of these different genres tied up. So in the end now, we've had the breakthrough. We know what happened. And Cuba Gooding Jr., he's had this profound breakthrough. He goes again to see the daughter, and he gets out of his car, and it's raining, and the sky opens up, and he's standing there like Andy Dufresne as he had swam through the pipes to get out of Shawshank. And he's out there. He's free. He's no longer a taker. He now knows what it's like and what the world really should be. Like, he's learned from his friend, the jungle murderer. Then, meanwhile, Powell is off wandering in the mist because he broke out of prison. So he goes off. He's starting a new life with the apes. I don't know what the hell he's going to do out there. But the movie wants to be profound. It wants to be uplifting. It wants to combine a little bit of Shawshank and what did they say? It took 50 yards of shit to come out clean on the other end, or Dead Poets Society. They're trying to make it emotional. And I see so many movies in here, Gene. You've got an animal rights drama. We're focusing on the protection of the gorillas and the consequence of poaching. Then we get a prison reform drama. We got progressive psychiatrists and psychologists trying to humanize and connect with these inmates. Then you've got the psychological thriller. It centers around the mystery of why is he silent, what happened to him, his dark past. Then we got a jungle survival story. We get the flashbacks of him living in the jungle with the gorillas. Then we've got the philosophical allegory where where the book is based on, where we're dealing with humanity's destructive path and the moral evolution. You have the mentor redemption story with Cuba Gooding Jr. and his mentor and the arc and the relationship in prison. You got the courtroom drama, which is probably the smallest of it because thankfully we don't see it, but the legal consequence of murder and his sanity hearing. Then we have an institutional critique, which exposes the flaws of the psychiatric hospital and the penal system in prison. And then you have finally, Gene, an inspirational teacher-student movie. It was Dead Poets Society, Good Will Hunting, with apes and jungle monologues. And they're going to try to teach us this big lesson and have a payoff at the end. It's a mess, Gene. All of them are a mess.
Don't forget interracial buddy comedy.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
you weren't paying attention to Bibujuha.
I wasn't. No, I'm to Chujubuha. I'm the idiot.
I think the idea is that Powell freed Caulder of the illusion of control and his participation in the game, right? That's the gift that he gave him. And so he's basking in the rain as a parallel to the way Powell learned to simply accept the rain among the gorillas. But what surprised me is Powell going back to the jungle, because I've got so many questions. One is, you've been gone for 2 years. You've been missing. Your credit cards and shit are shut the fuck down. Your bank account is shut the fuck down. I don't know where you got the money. You just escaped from a psychiatric facility and you're an international story. How are you getting on a plane to get there? I mean, maybe you took a boat. I don't know. But beyond all that, Powell didn't learn his lesson at all. We're talking about Caulder learning a lesson. You went back into the jungles. Remember what happened last time? You don't think people are going to be looking for you? You don't think this is going to put gorillas in danger? It's selfish, man. It's crazy. Maybe he's just going for that gorilla punani.
Again, maybe he is truly delusional and he's just running around somebody
crazy.
He's just running through somebody's backyard and he's imagining he's in the rainforest and he's accosting kids and he's seeing little like chimps and little apes. Or even, I think would have been better is that if he really did kill these men intentionally and this has been an act and he manipulated the gullible young Cuba Gooding Jr. to be free. Any of those work except for this breakthrough and discovery that just isn't earned.
Take a page from Gallipoli and also honor the parallelism that you've set up throughout this film. Dr. Powell, becomes the silverback in the prison and he gets shot by the guard while trying to protect the other ones, these mental patients who are now under his care because he has accepted them into his circle of man gorillas.
Gene, he's fucking batshit crazy. There's a scene where he paints over the walls of his cell
Mhm.
And it's like the continents with blue and green arrows. And everybody's like, what is it? What does it mean? And he's like, it's the history of the world, the real history. And I'm like, no, it's not that profound.
Also, homie, you're getting out of jail. Like, what'd you think they were going to do? Just keep everything on the walls? Like, you didn't do it on a canvas or a sketchbook. You did it on the fucking walls of your cell. They're going to paint over it.
Where the fuck did he get the arts and crafts? Did they not give him the paint?
He got those from the giver, Dr. Caulder.
It must have been a lot. I know what it takes to paint a room, Gene. You got to go to
do
Home
you?
Depot. Yes, you got to get a couple gallons of paint. He wasn't going to do that arts and crafts on those little like jars of paint.
Yeah, but you don't have gorilla abilities.
I mean,
Gorillas would
have painted with shit and blood. If he did the mural in human feces and body fluids, then yes, he learned a lot from his primate friends.
Well, now is the time of the podcast where we give our Shat score for Instinct. Shat scores are we're telling you how many wipes this movie would take to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's being inside Sigourney Weaver. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a movie. It's when Sigourney Weaver is inside you. Big D, please do the honors and give us your Shat score for Instinct.
This schizophrenic film is a textbook case of Oscar bait that just did not connect. You've got Anthony Hopkins. He's playing a wild, bearded prisoner with a tortured past. Cuba Gooding Jr., ambitious psychiatrist, trying to reach him. The movie's tackling big themes. It got you to think about, what does your dog want? What does my rabbit think? And the relationships of nature, illusion of civilization, prisons. It's wrapped up then with Danny Elfman's like soaring score. There's so many things going on here. None of them really work. It seems forced. It seems like a lot of ideas that just did not connect. They couldn't simplify it to a story that would be profound. Man, I got to go 3.75 wipes. It's not a good film.
I agree with you. It's not a good film, Big D. It's incredibly cheesy. It leans into a lot of stereotypes. It feels like a lot of recycled ideas from other movies. But I did get emotionally attached to it. And I really enjoyed the scenes between Cuba Gooding Jr. and Anthony Hopkins. Like, these are fantastic actors. They did a really, really strong job. I can't say that it's a bad movie, but I can't say it's a good one either. So I'm going to go just below average and say it's 3 wipes.
I don't know why every time I read the movies that the films we review tie to, that it makes me laugh, but it just feels so right for this one. So, Gene, with a wipe score of 3.375 rounded wipes, that now ties us in the 310 spot with Highlander 2, The Quickening, and Young Guns Part 2.
There you go.
I am completely okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that this is a movie that I would sit down at a bar with a friend or acquaintance and be like, holy shit, have you seen Anthony Hopkins in 1999's Instinct? And they would say no. And then I would talk about all the things we just talked about, and it would make for a really good conversation. Also, I want so badly to spend the next 10 minutes of this podcast talking to you about what you think Marshmallow thinks. Like, what does Marshmallow think about? What's Marshmallow's view of the world? You know?
Well, I think about that. Like, so our cat, Bella, who Vanessa saved, she's the favela cat from Brazil. She was a wild street cat, only has 1 tooth because she had fought for her life. Very long-haired. We finally, because we're in the Florida heat, we got her a haircut. So we had the groomer come in. The look of relief in her eyes, Gene. She climbs on the couch and she looks at me, and I can read her emotions. She's saying, I don't know what the sensation is, but thank you. I know you caused it. I'm happy. I will stand guard at the corner of your bed for you. I will protect you while you sleep. I can feel Bella's love.
I think about with dogs, how people want to treat their dogs to adventures. They're like, oh, like, you know, I want to take him up north and take him hiking, or I'm going to take him to the beach for the first time. Isn't that going to be fun? Nothing wrong with doing that stuff. I've done that stuff. But just remember, people, dogs, what do they crave more than anything? Consistency. They're creatures of habit. A dog is much happier, and science will back me up on this, doing the same walk and eating the same food and respecting the same hours in the same environment then she's going to be going on a new adventure that is very, very stressful and breaking from her habits, right? So again, it's just thinking about it. Yes, you or I, that sounds awesome. But to the dog, like, no.
Comfort, security, and feeling at peace. When Marshmallow lays with his ears down and his little feet up in the air, I know he is the ultimate relaxed. He is in a position where if a predator were to come, he could not run away. He could not hear them, but he feels so comfortable. Or that Bella has a chance to go outside by the pool and look at the birds and the lizards, and she chooses instead to come inside and lay down. She's like, fuck, I've had a hard life. I know what's out there. Nothing is better than air conditioning and just laying on the couch. That makes me feel happy for my animals. So whether or not they question where their food comes from, just the fact that they can actually maybe have those thoughts and remember their previous really rough lives.
Well, Austin, this wasn't the smash hit that you might have anticipated, but look what it did for us. Got us talking about our beloved pets and also painting with shit. So thanks a lot for your commission. Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, next week in this musical comedy, Valerie is dealing with her philandering fiancé, Ted, when she finds out that a trio of aliens have crashed their spaceship into her swimming pool. Once the furries are shaved at her girlfriend's salon, the woman discovers 3 handsome men underneath. After absorbing the native culture via TV, the spacemen are ready to hit the dating scene in 1980s Los Angeles. Commissioned by Emmett C. Emmett C. is a long-time supporter of the podcast, a kind soul, and we're excited to do this one for you. It came out in 89. It was not a huge box office hit, but had some big future stars. So we're excited to do this very different, somewhat less profound film than Instinct. But maybe we can garner some lessons, Gene, that could carry over into our lives.
Sounds easy. Thank you, Emmett. Thanks, Emmett, for your commission. Thank you, Austin, for your commission. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. Email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all the information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Please join us next time for the following movie.
I'm going to show you something that's going to totally change your life completely forever.
She's a brunette from Southern California. And he's not.
I need romance. I need surprises. A UFO landed in my pool. They captured me. I fed them Pop-Tarts, but you've got to cut their hair.
What did you say?
They may be from outer space.
So, they could still be dates.
I think we could just make them look more sort of human.
Hey, come on, everybody. We're doing a makeover.
But underneath, they're more than human.
Wow, you're incredible.
I could fix you up with some bodacious chest, just like that.
I can't believe you're printing an alien in front of all these people. I'm going home with him.
Are we limp and hard to manage?
Wait a minute, are you coming on to me?
Her boyfriend's a doctor.
I've never, ever been unfaithful to you.
Whose treatment is totally alienating.
Here comes Dr. Love.
And her new love's an alien who's more than accommodating.
Do you own your own home or do you rent?
Gina Davis, Julie Brown, and Jeff Goldblum in a film directed by Julian Temple and produced by Tony Garnett.
I just don't want you to think Earth girls are easy.
Earth girls are easy.